You pathetic, clumsy peasant. Julian Thorne, the billionaire CEO of Aegis Cloud, didn't just say it, he spat it. He stood over a young waiter, Leo, who was on one knee, frantically dabbing a small splash of Cabernet off Julian's $12,000 Italian leather shoes. "I am so sorry, sir," Leo whispered, his head bowed. "Someone bumped my tray." "I don't care about excuses," Julian roared, loud enough to stop the orchestra. He took his own glass of wine and slowly, deliberately poured the rest of it over Leo's head. The dark red liquid soaked into Leo's white server's jacket. "There, now you match the floor. Security, get this trash out of my sight before I buy the agency he works for just to fire his entire family." To understand how we got here, you have to understand Julian Thorne. Julian was the king of the cloud. He had built Aegis from a garage startup into a $90 billion empire. He was famous for his Thorne rules. Efficiency is God. Weakness is a sin. If you aren't at the table, you are on the menu. Tonight was the Apex Gala, the top 1% of the top 1%. Julian was waiting for the guest of honor, the legendary, reclusive investor known only as the Architect. Nobody knew his face, nobody knew his real name, but the Architect owned the backbone of the internet. If he pulled his funding, Aegis Cloud would vanish overnight. And there was Leo. Leo was 24. He had worked at the catering company for 3 years. He was the guy who stayed late to fold the linens, the guy who remembered which billionaire liked extra olives. He was invisible. To Julian, Leo wasn't a human. He was a biological service bot. "Please, Mr. Thorne," Leo said, standing up, wine dripping from his hair. "I have a shift to finish. I need this job." Julian stepped closer, his voice a venomous whisper. "You think you're a worker. You're a mistake. In my world, people like you don't exist. You're the background noise to my success. Now crawl out the service exit before I have you arrested for assault." The gala continued. Leo didn't leave. He went to the kitchen, changed into a fresh jacket, and returned to the floor. He had a job to do. Julian saw him again near the stage. His ego couldn't handle the defiance. Julian grabbed a microphone from the podium, interrupting the keynote speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen," Julian laughed into the mic, "we have a persistent pest tonight. This waiter thinks he's part of our world." He pointed at Leo. "Hey, kid, since you love being here so much, why don't you give us a speech? Tell us, how does it feel to be the most insignificant person in a room worth $1 trillion? The crowd chuckled. It was punching down at its finest. Julian felt powerful. He felt untouchable. Leo walked toward the stage. He didn't look humiliated anymore. He looked bored. "You don't think I want me to speak, Julian," Leo said. He didn't use a microphone, yet his voice seemed to carry further than Julian's. "Did you use my first name?" Julian's face turned purple. "Security, now! Drag him out!" The 2 head security guards approached the stage, but as they got within 3 feet of Leo, they stopped. They didn't grab him. They snapped to attention and bowed their heads. The room went deathly silent. Julian blinked. "What are you doing? Grab him!" The lead guard looked at Julian with pity. "Sir, we can't." "Why not?" "Because," a new voice boomed from the back of the room. It was the CEO of the entire hotel. He was sprinting down the aisle, clutching a tablet. "Because he just bought the building, and the land, and the debt on your company." Julian laughed nervously. "What? This kid? He's a waiter. I saw his name tag. It says Leo." Leo reached up and unclipped the name tag and dropped it into Julian's wine glass. "Leo is my middle name," he said calmly. "My first name is Leonard Vinci." A collective gasp hit the room. Vinci, the surname of the family that founded the original venture capital firm that funded every major tech company in history. "You're the Architect," Julian whispered, his knees shaking. "I prefer the term quality control." Leo pulled a small, cracked smartphone from his pocket. He tapped a single button. On the giant projector behind the stage, a legal document appeared. It was a moral turpitude clause in Julian's CEO contract. For 3 years, I've worked as a waiter in every major firm I fund. I've served your dinners. I've cleaned your spills. I've listened to how you speak to the people you think can do nothing for you. Leo looked at the audience, the billionaires who had laughed at Julian's jokes. They all looked at their plates. Julian tried to straighten his suit. Leo, Mr. Vinci, it was a joke, a misunderstanding. I'm a high performer. Look at my stock price. Leo stepped to the edge of the stage, looking down at Julian. Your stock is high, but your soul is bankrupt. Leo took a breath and then said the line that would define the video. You spent 10 years building a skyscraper of ego, but you forgot that a building is only as strong as the people who sweep its foundation. Leo looked at the tablet. As of 10 seconds ago, the board of Aegis Cloud has received a record of your behavior tonight. They have exercised the buyout option. You are no longer the CEO. You aren't even an employee. You can't do this, Julian screamed. I already did. And Julian, one more thing. Leo looked at the wet, wine-stained shoes Julian was so proud of. Those shoes are beautiful, but you aren't fit to walk in them. Please leave them at the door. They were paid for with my family's money. In front of the most powerful people in the world, the king of the cloud had to take off his shoes and walk out of the gala in his socks, escorted by the very security guards he had tried to weaponize. Leo didn't take the stage. He didn't give a victory speech. He walked back to the kitchen. He picked up his tray. He looked at the other waiters, his friends, who were standing there in shock. The gala isn't over, he smiled. And the tips tonight, they're on me. 10 million each. Respect isn't about status. It's about how you treat people when you think no one's watching. If you believe that, subscribe.